Melody steered her aging blue hatchback up the narrow mountain road, enjoying the crisp morning air, while her 8-year-old son Cody watched pines whiz past like green rockets outside his window. Cody began counting each hairpin curve, but the numbers grew confusing, so Melody joked that mountain math required extra courage instead of calculators, and her comment made him laugh loud enough to shake the seat belts. Halfway to Grandma's cabin, a sudden warning chime echoed from the dashboard, and white steam billowed from the hood, fogging the windshield like a dragon's sigh before sunrise. Melody's stomach flipped, yet she calmly pulled into a gravel turnout, shifted to park, and reminded Cody that problems become smaller when people stay calm and think clearly. They climbed out, cold wind tugging at their jackets, and the distant smell of wet cedar hinted that storms sometimes hid behind sunny skies in these high valleys. Melody popped the hood, squinting at hoses and wires that looked like tangled spaghetti coated in dark grease, wishing she had remembered to pack her toolbox instead of only sandwiches and juice. A split radiator hose hissed angrily, spraying hot droplets onto metal, and a small puddle formed under the car, proof that the engine would not carry them another yard without repair. No cell signal icons lit her phone, leaving Melody alone with towering peaks, chirping birds, and one curious squirrel that stared from a boulder as if waiting for the next scene. Footsteps crunch along the shoulder, and a tall hiker wearing a bright orange backpack stopped, offering a friendly wave and asking whether he could lend a hand. He introduced himself as Lucas, a biology teacher spending his weekend collecting wildflower photos for his students' spring projects, and his calm voice instantly lowered Melody's racing heartbeat. After listening to her explanation, Lucas inspected the hose, nodded thoughtfully, and admitted he carried duct tape, zip ties, and a multi-tool that might craft a temporary patch good enough for a slow trip downhill. Cody's eyes widened like twin full moons as Lucas unfolded the multi-tool, because he had never witnessed real roadside engineering outside cartoon rescue shows. Following 3 careful layers of tape and 2 snug zip ties, Lucas suggested letting the engine cool 10 more minutes, explaining that hot plastic behaves like stubborn taffy. While waiting, he taught Cody to identify nearby fir trees by touching the needles gently and sniffing the fresh sap scent that clung to their fingertips. Melody shared apple slices from their cooler, and Lucas traded packets of dried fruit, turning the delay into an unplanned picnic with spectacular cliff-side views. In the distance, a hawk circled against a backdrop of cloudless blue, and the bird's effortless glide reminded Melody that perspective can lift heavy worries. 10 minutes passed, so Melody twisted the key. The engine coughed once, then settled into a quiet idle, but the fuel gauge hovered dangerously close to empty. Lucas advised traveling only to the ranger station 5 miles downhill, where proper clamps, coolant, and perhaps a tow truck could be arranged. Despite lingering nerves, Melody felt hopeful, because help had arrived exactly when needed, proving kindness often roams wilderness trails disguised as hikers. She thanked Lucas sincerely, promising to follow every direction, and Cody offered him the last apple slice as payment, which Lucas accepted with a grin and exaggerated bow. Before leaving, Lucas scribbled his phone number on an old grocery receipt for future updates, even though no self-service existed here yet, showing preparedness can outpace technology. Melody restarted the car, eased onto the asphalt, and caught a final glimpse of Lucas tightening his backpack straps, planning to follow on foot in case further trouble surfaced. Cody counted each reflective post along the road aloud, using the exercise to steady his nerves and distract from steam still curling from beneath the hood. Gravity assisted their descent, and Melody shifted into low gear, remembering her father's lesson that brakes last longer when engines share the burden on steep grades. A raven croaked overhead, swooping low before disappearing behind jagged crags that loomed like watchful giants. A stream glittered beside the pavement, tumbling over smooth stones, and its cheerful gurgle made the dangerous road feel almost welcoming. 2 miles down, the patched hose held, but a bank of gray clouds gathered above the western ridge, threatening afternoon showers that could freeze at higher elevations. Melody pressed on, fingers wide around the steering wheel, until wooden buildings finally appeared. A ranger office, tool shed, and weathered gas pump that looked older than her car. A uniformed ranger named Dana opened the office door, steam from her coffee mug mingling with chilly air, and she waved them inside the warm lobby for assistance. Lucas arrived moments later, damp with sweat yet smiling, having jogged shortcuts through switchbacks, confirming that perseverance wears running shoes. Dana inspected the hose patch, praised the effort, then disappeared into the shed, returning with replacement clamps, a jug of coolant, and a small loaner toolbox. While Lucas and Melody installed the parts, Cody helped Dana feed 2 friendly rescue dogs waiting in a fenced yard, discovering that wagging tails cure leftover stress quickly. The repair finished. The engine purred smoother, and fresh coolant sparkled in the radiator like green gemstone soup that promised safe travel. Gratitude overflowed in Melody's chest, and she realized strangers had transformed a crisis into something brighter than ordinary days spent hurrying from chore to chore. Inside her chest, relief fluttered like a bluebird startled into sudden flight yet eager to keep singing. Dana warned of predicted snow after sunset and suggested the nearby mountain lodge if roads iced again, advice Melody tucked carefully into her decision pocket. Lucas planned to continue his hike once certain Melody could reach the Valley Fuel Station, but he agreed to ride along until the gauge showed half a tank for safety. They squeezed into the hatchback, laughter mingling with engine hum, and the car rolled forward, leaving the ranger office behind yet carrying its kindness like invisible cargo. Sunlight bounced off wet pavement, scattering tiny rainbows under the wheels, and Cody exclaimed that even roads celebrate when people work together. Though challenges still lay ahead, whether risks and a delayed birthday visit, Melody sensed courage stronger than before, forged by tape, teamwork, and trust shared beside a steaming radiator. Ranger Dana greeted them at the wooden door, her green uniform neat and her silver badge shining, and she offered steaming mugs of cocoa that smelled of melted chocolate chips and Sweet Hope. Cody sipped carefully, warming his cold fingers on the cup, while Lucas explained a temporary repair and asked to borrow stronger hose clamps, coolant, and a satellite phone to call a tow truck. Dana nodded, saying the shed behind the station held plenty of supplies, and she encouraged Cody to help count the clamps because young eyes were better at spotting small things among dusty shelves. Melody felt gratitude swell like a rising tide, yet she could not ignore the worry over her missed delivery job in town. Lucas listened as she spoke, telling her he understood juggling work since teachers tutored on weekends to afford classroom science kits, and he admired her perseverance. Dana returned to the weather forecast, warning that a larger storm cell would arrive by nightfall, bringing heavy snow despite the spring calendar, so the mountain road could close soon. Melody bit her lip because staying overnight meant extra cost at a lodge, but Dana quickly offered the ranger bunk room free of charge, saying helping travelers was part of her oath. Cody cheered at the idea of sleeping in a ranger station, imagining it like a secret fort filled with maps and walkie-talkies, and Melody smiled at his boundless optimism. They carried the tools in a bright red gas can back to the broken car, the clouds already frosting the peaks with a veil of gray, and the temperature dropping by the minute. Lucas knelt with determined focus, swapping the temporary tape for proper clamps, adding coolant, and teaching Cody how the radiator kept engines from overheating just like sweat-cooled people. Afternoon sunlight flashed off the wrench each time he tightened a bolt, scattering sparks of gold onto the snow. Melody fetched snacks from the trunk, thankful the food had not spoiled, and she laughed when Cody placed a gummy bear army along the bumper to guard the operation. The engine roared back to life on the second try, purring smoother than before, yet the fuel gauge hovered near empty, a reminder that mountains had few gas stations. Dana radioed a highway patrol unit that promised to meet them halfway with more fuel if they could reach mile marker 12 before sunset, a race against the storm. Melody agreed, calculating that if they left immediately and drove carefully, they might succeed, and she felt adrenaline buzz in her veins. Lucas offered to ride along until the patrol rendezvous, then hike back, insisting that extra eyes on the road improved safety, and Melody accepted with relief. They buckled in, Cody between them in the back seat, the car heater blowing warm air scented by pine needles stuck in the vent, and Melody eased onto the slick pavement. Flurries began like wandering feathers, light and playful, but soon thick flakes swirled, and visibility narrowed, making every turn feel like the edge of a hidden cliff. Lucas spoke calmly, directing Melody to downshift before curves and to follow the reflective poles lining the shoulder, tiny lighthouses guiding them home. Cody counted the poles aloud, turning the drive into a game, his upbeat voice cutting through the howl of wind that pressed against the windows. At mile marker 8, a fallen branch blocked half the lane, so Melody braked, and Lucas jumped out to drag it aside, muscles straining but determination stronger. Snow coated his jacket, and when he climbed back in, he shook like a dog, and laughter filled the car, pushing fear into the back seat where it could not steer. The wipers slapped back and forth in a steady rhythm, like marching drums saying keep going, until finally the patrol SUV appeared with flashing blue lights ahead where passing tourists stopped to clap for his unexpected performance. Officer Patel greeted them with a friendly salute, poured 2 gallons into the tank, and handed Melody a voucher for a free fill-up at the Valley Station in the morning. He warned the pass might close within an hour and offered an escort vehicle to the lodge at the base, but Melody wanted to reach Grandma's cabin because Grandma's birthday picnic waited. Lucas suggested evaluating real risks, reminding them that birthdays could be celebrated any day, but safety mattered tonight, and Melody reluctantly agreed to follow the patrol down. The convoy descended the switchbacks, blue lights scattering off snowflakes like tiny fireworks, and Cody sang a tune about brave cars teaming up with Guardian trucks. When they reached the lodge, a cozy building of stone and cedar, warm light glowed through windows, and the roof carried a thick frosting of new snow. Inside, a crackling fireplace greeted them, and the manager, Mrs. Quinn, welcomed stranded travelers with discounted rooms and a giant jar of homemade oatmeal cookies. Melody signed the guest log, noting several names already, proof that mountains write stories every storm, weaving strangers into chapters of shared survival. Lucas paid for his own room despite Melody's protests, saying teachers planned for surprises by saving spare change, and he winked to show generosity was no hardship. Dana radioed again to confirm their safe arrival, promising to check road conditions at dawn, and Cody proudly informed her that he planned to become a ranger someday. Mrs. Quinn lent Melody a phone card so she could call Grandma, who laughed kindly at the delay and promised to keep the birthday cake frozen until they arrived. Later, over bowls of chili, Melody, Lucas, and Cody sat near the fire, sharing stories about favorite books, silly pets, and the best science experiments gone wrong. Lucas demonstrated a shadow puppet rabbit on the wall, and Cody burst into giggles that echoed through the lobby like cheerful bells shaking away leftover worry. Melody felt warmth deeper than the fire, realizing kindness could be found even in blizzards, and she silently thanked the mountain for teaching that lesson. As the clock struck 9, thick snow still fell outside, blanketing the parking lot cars until only their mirrors peeked out like curious ears. Lucas suggested they play one last game of mountain trivia before bed, and Cody's eyes sparkled like embers, eager for any challenge. Melody answered a question about the tallest local peak, surprising herself with knowledge gained from earlier conversations, and Lucas applauded enthusiastically. The night ended with quiet goodnights, and Melody walked Cody to their room, tucking him under a quilt patterned with bears, feeling gratitude wrap around her heart. As she turned off the lamp, snow swirled beyond the window, but inside the lodge Melody felt safe, certain tomorrow would bring clear roads, fuller fuel, and new friendships that would last. Sunrise painted the lodge windows gold, and Melody woke to silence, the hush that follows heavy snow when the world pauses to admire its white coat and the air feels like clean cotton. Cody bounced on the bed, eager to find Lucas and explore, while Melody checked road reports near the lobby map and sighed with relief to see the highway reopened, chains required. They met Lucas near the breakfast buffet, where he balanced a stack of waffles dripping with syrup. He laughed when Cody compared the syrup to lava racing down a volcano pancake. Mrs. Quinn pressed extra sandwiches into Melody's hands, saying travelers should never leave without supplies, and the smell of turkey and cheese made Cody's stomach growl like a tiny bear. Outside, the patrol SUV waited to guide a small convoy down the mountain, bright lights flashing against snowbanks carved by early plows that looked like giant white walls. He joked that chaperoning one more twisty drive was easier than grading messy handwriting, a promise that made Cody vow better penmanship forever. The road glistened under sun and ice crystals, a glittering ribbon unrolling between snow-capped pines, and Melody's tire chains clacked a steady beat that reminded her of Cody's drum lessons. They passed a family of elk standing knee-deep in snow, steam puffing from their noses, and Cody scribbled a quick sketch in his notebook to show Grandma later. Warm air rose from the valley, carrying distant bell chimes from a hillside church beginning a wedding service far below the snowy ridge. Melody filled the tank, feeling a financial pinch but thankful for the voucher, and Cody spent saved allowance on a postcard of the mountain sunrise for his teacher. Lucas bought extra windshield fluid and showed Cody how to top it off, comparing it to pouring juice into an invisible cup that helped the car see clearly. An old bus schedule hung crooked near the soda machine, and Cody tried to decode the faded routes like a spy uncovering secret railways. He accepted a ride to the depot, and during the short trip, he told Cody about the upcoming science fair theme of renewable energy, sparking imagination like a freshly lit campfire. Melody listened, thinking how wonderful it would be for Cody to have a mentor who loved teaching as much as Lucas loved exploring, and an idea brewed quietly. A mural of a trout leaping over river stones covered one depot wall, its painted droplets sparkling under flickering fluorescent lights that buzzed like lazy dragonflies. Lucas thanked Melody for her kindness and handed Cody his compass as a gift, saying explorers always share tools, and Cody hugged him hard enough to nearly reverse the exchange. Melody and Cody waved until the bus turned a corner. Then she steered toward Grandma's cabin, the valley below shining under fresh snow like a frosted cake. Grandma's hug nearly lifted Melody off the ground, and Cody swore he heard her back give a heroic crack, an announcement of grandmotherly power. Inside, a wood stove radiated warmth, and the smell of chocolate cake filled every room, convincing Cody he had stepped into the best storybook ever written. Over late lunch, Melody told Grandma the entire tale. Grandma listened with wide eyes, sometimes gasping, sometimes smiling knowingly, and finally nodding as if everything made perfect sense. The letter bore a stamp featuring an owl wearing spectacles, a detail Cody found hilarious enough to spark a 5-minute giggle fit. Melody thought of Lucas and his love for teaching, and a plan took shape like a snowman gaining form after each packed handful of snow. She asked Cody to help write a thank you email using Grandma's satellite internet, inviting Lucas to apply for the position and promising glowing references. Cody typed happily, sprinkling the message with 3 smiley faces, and Melody led him because sometimes a smiley carries more warmth than extra sentences. When they pressed send, Melody felt a flutter of excitement, imagining Lucas visiting often for lesson planning and mountain hikes that doubled as science classes. Songbirds whistled from snow-laden branches, providing cheerful halftime music during their spontaneous sled races. Melody's heart felt lighter than it had in years, and she realized the breakdown had fixed something inside her, tightening loose bolts of self-doubt. Evenings settled with pink skies fading into navy, and they gathered around a fire, sipping cocoa and sharing hopes for spring. Grandma proposed a toast to unexpected heroes, clinking mugs while Cody echoed the word heroes with the solemn respect of someone who had met one face-to-face. Melody thanked the mountain aloud, choosing to believe nature had orchestrated events as carefully as a conductor leading an orchestra. She tucked Cody into a loft bed, whispering a promise of more adventures and fewer overtime shifts now that better days were coming. Downstairs, Melody drafted a budget on a yellow notepad, realizing with tutoring income, she could drop one part-time job and spend evenings reading with Cody. She added a line item for full car repairs, determined never to trust luck alone on steep roads again, and circled it twice for emphasis. Lucas's email included a blurry snapshot of a rainbow over a frozen pond, proof that beauty can photobomb even rushed messages sent from rural buses. Melody relayed the news to Grandma, who declared good teachers rarer than snow-free springs and insisted they should be lured with pie, which made Melody laugh softly. She stepped onto the porch, cool air brushing her cheeks, stars pulsing bright above snow-capped peaks, and she breathed gratitude deep into her lungs. Somewhere up the mountain, plows cleared more drifts, engines humming like distant bees, preparing safe passage for morning travelers. Melody realized life felt different now, fuller of possibilities, like her fuel tank finally reading full instead of blinking empty. She whispered goodnight to the silent forest, promising to return with Cody and maybe a classroom of curious kids eager to learn from rocks, rivers, and resilient single moms. As she closed the door, the warm cabin light wrapped around her shoulders like a quilt of welcome, and Melody understood that breakdowns could become bridges when strangers chose to help. A week later, Melody sat nervously on the school office bench, waiting for Lucas to finish his interview, while hallway murals showed rivers powering cardboard turbines spinning lazily in colored breezes. Cody sat beside her, swinging his legs and holding the compass Lucas had given him, turning it slowly as if steering fate toward a good outcome. Principal Harris emerged with Lucas, both smiling broadly, and the principal shook Melody's hand, thanking her for recommending such a passionate educator. Daylight spilled through tall windows, turning dust motes into lanterns drifting lazily. Lucas reported he would start the following Monday, leading afternoon science labs and weekend field trips, and Melody felt pride sparkle inside her like tiny fireworks. Afterward, they celebrated with pizza at a family diner, where Cody built a mountain of pepperoni slices, declaring it safer than real peaks because cheese avalanches tasted delicious. Lucas suggested launching a community STEM club that welcomed parents, and Melody agreed instantly, picturing single moms learning beside their kids without worrying about extra fees. The first club meeting took place in the school gym, folding tables covered with magnets, batteries, and clear bottles ready to become simple water rockets, their colors reflecting overhead lights like a parade eager for takeoff. Melody volunteered as project helper, showing students how to twist bottle caps tight, and she laughed when a rocket sprayed her sleeve, cooling excitement like fizzy soda. Lucas guided the countdown, and rockets whooshed toward ceiling beams, splashing gentle rain on cheering kids whose eyes flashed with wonder. Principal Harris clapped in approval, murmuring that curiosity is louder than any school bell, and promised funding for more supplies if attendance stayed high. Applause from students sounded like waves on a pebbled beach. News traveled fast, and soon local businesses donated cardboard, LEDs, and even a used 3D printer, turning the club into a buzzing workshop of ideas and noisy glue guns. Melody organized a schedule board, color-coding sessions so kids who struggled in math could still find approachable projects like designing pinwheels that measured wind speed. On Friday, Lucas invited Ranger Dana to demonstrate trail safety, and Cody proudly introduced her as the hero who offered cocoa during the storm. Dana taught compass skills, setting up a treasure hunt on the playground, and laughter across swings reminded Melody of that windy mountain pass. At sunset, Melody walked to her car, feeling tired yet joyful, and soft evening breeze rustled nearby maple leaves like applause from hidden fans. She noticed the patched radiator hose held firm and resolved to save for a full replacement, understanding that reliable tools support brave journeys. The following month, the club prepared for the regional science showcase, and students buzzed like bees, each pair perfecting projects from solar ovens to homemade seismographs. Cody and two friends built a small model of the mountain road, using marbles to test slope safety, and they named it the Melody Curve in her honor. When the day arrived, Melody drove the team van, Lucas rode shotgun with checklists, and the back seats rattled with models, posters, and nervous giggles. At the venue, judges walked around with clipboards, asking questions, and Lucas coached each child to speak clearly by comparing presentations to campfire stories. Melody stood nearby, ready with water bottles and reassuring smiles, and she marveled at how far they had come since her car steamed on that lonely road. The marbled road model won a creativity ribbon, and Cody waved it triumphantly, shouting that he owed everything to a busted radiator and kind strangers. Photographers snapped pictures, and one local reporter interviewed Melody, calling her a champion for bringing fresh energy to community science activities. Melody blushed, mentioning Lucas's leadership, and a reporter captured their shared grin, promising to publish the story in the Sunday paper. That night, Lucas, Melody, Cody, and Grandma gathered around Grandma's kitchen table, reading the article, each line praising teamwork and resilience. Grandma placed her hand on Melody's, whispering that destiny often puts potholes on roads to help travelers slow down and notice new paths. Lucas thanked Grandma for wise words and extra pie, and Cody suggested printing the article to pin on the classroom wall as proof that mountains teach beyond geography. Melody laughed, feeling a warm glow, and lamplight shimmered on framed photos of old family outings, reminding her that stories grow like branches from older tales. Later, while washing dishes, Melody and Lucas chatted about future hikes, considering a parent group to clear littered trails on weekends. They agreed lessons feel richer outdoors, where every breeze carries unseen math and every bug whispers biology, inviting young minds to listen. Melody admitted she used to feel isolated juggling jobs, but now she sensed a village rising around her, offering support like strong ropes on a climbing wall. Lucas replied that villages build quickly when kindness is the blueprint, and Melody tucked the phrase into her memory, promising to quote it someday. The clock chimed 10, and Cody yawned, so Lucas said good night, leaving with a promise to send lesson plans about renewable energy kites. Melody watched Lucas walk down the snowy path, porch light casting a golden halo, and she wondered whether mountains occasionally arrange friendships on purpose. She told Grandma she was happy. Grandma nodded, saying happiness is the best road sign because it always points toward more gratitude. Melody slept deeply that night, dreaming of clear skies, safe roads, and classrooms filled with laughter instead of fear. In the morning, birds chirped at dawn, and Melody brewed coffee while Cody practiced counting compass degrees, eager for the next hike. A letter arrived from the county office announcing funding for a permanent after-school STEM center, naming Melody volunteer coordinator. Tears filled her eyes, the good kind, washing away leftover doubt like spring rain cleans dusty sidewalks. She hugged Cody tight, telling him that sometimes a broken car can steer a family straight into a miracle, blooming again each time someone chooses to help another traveler. Spring melted into early summer, and the brand-new STEM Center opened its glass doors with balloons tied to railings, colorful banners fluttering like eager flags announcing a festival of learning. Melody stood at the welcome table, clipboard in hand, checking names of children rushing inside, sneakers squeaking on shiny floors that smelled faintly of fresh paint and big dreams. Lucas wheeled in a cart stacked with tiny solar panels, waving at Melody and joking that the sun RSVP'd as guest speaker, ready to power experiments all afternoon. Cody zipped between displays, guiding newcomers to a photographic timeline titled The Mountain Miracle that showed pictures from snowy rescue to ribbon-cutting day. Vanilla frosting perfumed the lobby, mingling with scents of marker ink and laptop plastic to make an aroma Cody later called invention pie. Principal Harris delivered opening remarks, praising volunteers and singling out Melody for turning hardship into heroism, words that made her cheeks match nearby red balloons. Applause thundered under the high ceiling, and Melody's eyes glossed with happy tears, but she steadied herself by remembering long nights of worry, now replaced by mornings of purpose. A local radio host interviewed her, sliding a microphone forward and asking what advice she had for parents facing tough times. Melody answered that small acts of courage can snowball into mountains of change. Lucas nodded approval and added that curiosity should be packed like a snack on every journey, sparking giggles from the listening kids. Workshops began. One corner buzzed with toy cars racing down rubber band ramps. Another shimmered as children arranged mirrors to bounce sunlight into jars laced with glow powder. Melody floated from station to station, offering tips, cheering successes, and reminding disappointed builders that every failure is a teacher wearing a different hat. At noon, Ranger Dana arrived with a forest safety booth, laying out maps and animal tracks, and she reenacted the Coco rescue using a toy car and cotton ball steam. Children clapped wildly, and Melody observed that heroic stories grow softer edges when retold by friends, fitting comfortably into young minds. After lunch, the county commissioner appeared holding a framed certificate naming Melody and Lucas Citizens of the Year. Gasps rippled across the room, and Cody shouted yes so loudly that balloons shivered. Melody hugged Lucas while flashes from cameras popped like tiny fireworks. The commissioner explained that resilience and service deserve recognition and announced a grant for upgrading the center's 3D printer to produce prosthetic parts for the local clinic. Lucas almost dropped the certificate, eyes glistening, and Melody thought about how far kindness can travel, rolling downhill like snow but leaving gardens instead of drifts. Music played softly through speakers, and kids formed circles showing off projects while parents mingled, discovering shared interests they never knew existed. Cody demonstrated his Marble Mountain model again, pointing at the Melody curve, and a journalist filming whispered that the clip might inspire other towns. Outside, a gentle breeze carried the scent of blooming lupins across the parking lot where Melody's car now gleamed with a new radiator hose and a small bumper sticker saying "Keep climbing." Lucas suggested ending the day with a group photo on the front steps, and everyone crowded together, making funny faces on the count of three, because serious heroes can still be silly. The photographer captured wide smiles, raised certificates, and the glint of sun on compass necklaces Cody had crafted as thank you gifts for volunteers. After cleanup, Melody locked the center doors, feeling the click like the final note of a good song, low and satisfying. She and Lucas loaded leftover supplies into her car, planning to store them at the school. The trunk no longer looked sad. It held future lessons ready to unfold. Driving, they talked about hosting a fall stargazing night using telescopes funded by the grant and inviting families to wrap in blankets beneath a crisp sky. Lucas said he could teach constellations through storytelling, weaving myth and science into tales that glowed like distant suns. Melody shared her dream of writing a picture book about the mountain rescue, showing how teamwork trumps fear, and Lucas promised to help with scientific details. They reached the school storage room and shelved supplies, stacking boxes neatly like building blocks that promised sturdy walls of knowledge. Its discovery felt like treasure, and Lucas joked that if fate gives you jewelry, you must be on the right map. Melody laughed, tucking the clip into her hair, and felt a gentle certainty that roads sometimes wind on purpose, leading exactly where we need to meet. Before parting, Lucas invited Melody and Cody on a weekend hike to see alpine wildflowers, assuring them the trail was gentle and the views were like standing inside a painting. Melody accepted, picturing Cody counting petals instead of road poles, and her heart fluttered with anticipation instead of anxiety. Lucas waved goodbye, riding off on his bicycle, the evening sun casting long shadows that stretched like bookmarks saving this perfect chapter. Melody drove home with windows down, warm air rushing in, and she sang along to the radio with a voice that no longer trembled. At home, Grandma and Cody waited with a congratulatory banner drawn in crayon, and Melody lifted Cody in a spin, both laughing until they nearly toppled. Over dinner, they planned a hike menu, trail mix, turkey wraps, and thermoses of cocoa because tradition matters, and Grandma insisted on baking extra cookies for Lucas to carry. That night, Melody wrote in her journal that broken things can open doors, aches can plant gardens, and strangers can become guides toward brighter valleys. She added that courage sounds like duct tape peeling in cold wind. It feels like a small boy's hand squeezing hope inside a snowstorm. Melody closed the journal, understanding the story will keep growing as long as people choose to help each other climb. She turned off the light, and the quiet house felt like a mountain at peace, its rooms echoing with soft breaths of everyone dreaming about the trails still waiting ahead. One crisp autumn Saturday, Melody, Cody, Lucas, and a dozen club families gathered at the original mountain pull-off, now marked by a wooden sign reading Mountain Miracle Overlook freshly carved by volunteers. Camera drones hovered quietly overhead recording the reunion, their soft whirs blending with rustling treetops like mechanical hummingbirds. Rust-red leaves twirled around their boots, and the air tasted of pine and soon-to-fall snow, a reminder that seasons change while certain memories remain evergreen. Dana, wearing her ranger hat, led a safety talk, then unfurled a trail map showing new mile markers inspired by Cody's counting game during the blizzard night. The new markers displayed bright animal icons, turning navigation into a scavenger hunt that earned bragging rights among siblings. The group set out on a short hike to a sunny meadow, carrying picnic baskets, telescopes, and a portable speaker playing cheerful songs. Melody walked beside Lucas, discussing how STEM Center membership had doubled and how next month's workshop would help kids build simple weather stations. Lucas noted plans to attach sensors to birdhouses so data could help sparrows too. Cody marched ahead with friends, the compass necklace bouncing proudly on his chest, and he declared himself trail captain, promising to report every interesting bug. In the meadow, blankets spread out like patchwork quilts, and families shared apple slices, sandwiches, and Grandma's famous compass cupcakes now decorated in autumn colors. The frosting reflected copper sun rays, creating edible sunsets that vanished under enthusiastic bites. Lucas aimed a telescope at the pale moon visible in daylight, explaining craters while kids gasped at distant mountains on a distant world. Melody listened, feeling wonder ripple through her again, the same sensation that bloomed when the engine first hissed and life rerouted her plans. After lunch, Principal Harris presented Melody with a scholarship certificate for an evening environmental science program funded by donors moved by her story. Melody covered her mouth in amazement, and Lucas squeezed her shoulder, whispering that teachers never stop learning and leaders never stop climbing. Cody hugged his mom, promising homework help, and laughter rose across the meadow like a flock of happy birds taking flight under towering peaks. Dana invited everyone to plant 2 young pines near the overlook, symbols of growth and resilience, and each child placed a scoop of soil while making a wish. Melody wished for courage, Lucas wished for endless curiosity, and Cody wished for extra marshmallows on future hikes, proving wishes come in all sizes. Cody pretended each new needle was a green sword guarding travelers from future engine troubles. Afternoon wind shifted, clouds gathered, and Melody suggested packing before mist became rain. Families folded blankets, stowed telescopes, and secured backpacks, yet no one hurried with dread because they trusted the mountain and one another now. On the walk back, Dana pointed out fresh animal tracks, Lucas led a bark identification game, and Melody taught younger kids to spot safe pull-offs on maps. A tourist couple snapped a commemorative photo beside the new sign, then smiled when Cody awarded them honorary Explorer stickers. Melody glanced at her car shining in afternoon light and felt gratitude pulse like a steady heartbeat. She recalled the fear that once pressed on her chest like heavy stone and compared it to today's lightness, as though someone had traded that stone for a feather. Lucas quietly shared a plan to propose a summer camp blending science, art, and safety, asking if Melody would co-direct. Melody answered yes without hesitation, picturing evenings of campfire stories guiding new explorers through starlit lessons. The idea thrilled her, weaving new threads into the rich tapestry of the year's journey. The plaque's bronze surface reflected Melody's beaming face, capturing a moment she hoped to remember during tough homework nights. Applause mixed with a gentle breeze, and the pine saplings swayed as if bowing in agreement. Grandma arrived late with thermoses of cocoa, and everyone cheered because some traditions deserve to last forever. They toasted to health, hope, and highways that may toss surprises yet always offer scenic detours worth taking. First raindrops dotted jackets, so the group climbed into cars and vans, engines humming a confident chorus. Melody drove last in line, headlights tracing wet asphalt, and she noticed how fear had been replaced by respect, a calmer companion for mountain roads. Cody played navigator, calling out safe speeds, and every time they passed a reflective pole, he whispered "thank you," making Melody smile. Farther down, they crossed mile marker 12, and Melody honked twice in salute to Officer Patel's kindness months before. Lucas followed on his bicycle lit with blinking LEDs, turning the frame into a rolling comet slicing through foggy dusk. At the Valley Junction, families headed home, windows fogged by chatter, and Melody felt content knowing the story did not end. It simply branched into many chapters. She parked at Grandma's house, rain steady, drumming on the roof like gentle applause, a soundtrack she will forever associate with brave beginnings. Inside, Cody spread maps on the table, planning routes for summer camp, and Melody joined, pencils scraping paper like skis on new snow. Lucas arrived soaked but smiling, and together they finalized camp ideas until candlelight flickered low. Near midnight, Melody stepped onto the porch, inhaling cool air scented with earth, and whispered thanks to silent peaks towering unseen in darkness. She understood mountains are not obstacles but teachers guiding travelers toward each other, and that every winding road offers room to grow. Closing the door behind her, Melody sealed warmth inside and knew with sure certainty that adventure and kindness will always ride shotgun, ready to turn every bend into a fresh chance to care. Summer camp day, one opened beneath a sapphire sky speckled with cotton clouds, and Melody's car led the caravan up the freshly graded service road that now sported new guardrails funded by the STEM Center grant. Cody bounced in the passenger seat, clutching a clipboard covered in star stickers, ready to check off every scheduled activity from meteor tracker building to evening constellation bingo. Lucas followed behind on the old school bus, windows down, kids' laughter billowing out like bright pennants, while Grandma rode shotgun passing oatmeal cookies to anyone brave enough to sing camp songs loudly. The campsite sat in a sheltered grove beside a slow creek, and tents sprouted like colorful mushrooms, green for the science group, orange for the art crew, and blue for junior rangers learning safety knots. Melody parked near the equipment trailer and inhaled the mingled scents of pine needles, canvas, and fresh river mud, thinking no perfume ever matched the smell of adventure at sunrise. After roll call, Ranger Dana blew a silver whistle and divided campers into teams, each named for a local bird. Cody's group became the Soaring Falcons, a title he vowed to honor with extra-wide glider wings in the engineering challenge. Melody supervised the solar oven station where tinfoil pizza boxes reflected sunlight onto mini pita pies, proving science can taste like melted cheese on a perfectly crisp crust. At the creek bank, Lucas demonstrated how water current powered a tiny well made from recycled spoons, and campers crowded close, splashing their sneakers while cheering the first spin. Grandma set up a quiet corner under a birch tree labeled Inventor's Lounge, handing notebooks to shy participants so brainstorms could sprout even without loud voices. By mid-morning, the meadow hummed with hammer taps, measuring tape snaps, and surprised giggles when rubber band car axles launched sooner than expected. Melody noticed one camper, Lila, staring nervously at a half-built kite, so she knelt beside her, explained lift with a paper napkin, and soon both laughed as the kite's tail fluttered proudly in the light breeze. Over at the art tables, Lucas guided paint-splattered kids through sketching mountain silhouettes, teaching them to layer cool blues and warm purples for distance without fancy supplies. Noon brought peanut butter wraps, apple slices, and Dana's famed trail trivia, where correct answers earned polished river stones painted with tiny gold stars. Cody snagged 3 stones by naming the tallest peak, the local state flower, and the safe distance for campfires, earning fist bumps from the Falcons who now viewed him as walking encyclopedia. After lunch, clouds drifted in, shading the meadow, but spirits stayed bright as Melody launched the weather balloon experiment, a small helium-filled globe carrying a shoebox sensor rig students had wired the week before. Everyone counted down from 10, and cheers echoed through trees when the balloon bobbed skyward, relaying temperature and altitude to a tablet screen that beeped like a video game victory. Lila read the first data row aloud, voice steady for the first time, and her friends clapped harder than any earlier moment, proving confidence can rise faster than helium. Afternoon workshops rotated quickly, rock polishing demonstrations, clay volcanoes erupting with vinegar fizz, and a music corner where repurposed tin cans became drums synced to heartbeats. Melody paused to note how students who once shied away from math now begged for extra graph paper, convinced charting volcano eruptions made them secret detective scientists. Lucas announced an impromptu kindness quest, handing each camper a colored ribbon and challenging them to tie it on someone's backpack after offering genuine help, a stealth mission that covered the meadow in rainbows by sunset. As shadows lengthened, Grandma rang a copper triangle signaling dinner, chili bowls steaming on long tables while sunlight flashed off serving spoons like tiny comets streaking earthward. Campers traded stories about the toughest moment conquered that day, from hammering a crooked nail straight to apologizing after an accidental paint spill. Each tale ended with group applause and second helpings. Dusk painted the sky lavender, and the group hiked a short ridge for stargazing, cardboard planetarium wheels in hand, led by Lucas pointing his laser at Venus glowing brave near the horizon. Melody lay on a blanket beside Cody, tracing imaginary lines between newly learned constellations while he whispered their mythic backstories, his breath smelling faintly of marshmallow goo from dessert. Ranger Dana shared a folktale about mountain spirits guiding travelers who choose compassion, and several campers nodded, silently connecting the legend to Melody's snowy road rescue long ago. Suddenly, the weather balloon tablet pinged, signaling descent. Teams raced to calculate its landing zone using wind speed data, shouting coordinates like jubilant air traffic controllers. The soaring falcons plodded fastest, and under flashlight beams they retrieved the balloon from a fern patch, returning triumphant with the intact sensor box and a single pine needle stuck to its tape. Lucas displayed the graphs on a portable projector against a tent wall, turning ripples of colored lines into a moving mural of the day's sky journey. Melody watched Lila present findings to peers, voice now confident enough to project beyond the fire's circle, and she felt her heart swell the way creek water swells after spring thaw. Night deepened, coyotes yipped in the far hills, and Dana assured campers the sounds meant packs greeting the moon, not monsters testing flashlights. At lights out, tents glowed softly from LED lanterns, stories drifted on a mild breeze, and Melody walked perimeter duty, flashlight beams scanning trees that whispered secrets of rustling leaves. She paused at the overlook sign, reading again the engraved promise that courage and kindness turn breakdowns into breakthroughs, and she silently thanked the universe for steering her tire toward this exact gravel turnout months earlier. Returning to the staff campfire, she found Lucas sketching tomorrow's flight cages for butterfly studies and offered him a fresh log, their teamwork flowing without need for many words. Grandma poured cocoa into enamel mugs, and the three adults toasted lightly, steam curling into constellations overhead while embers drifted skyward, imitating newborn stars. Melody confided her evening class homework felt daunting, but Lucas reminded her that scientists ask questions one at a time, not in stampedes, and Dana added that mountains rise stone by stone. Emboldened, Melody opened her notebook and drafted a lesson idea connecting car maintenance to physics, imagining future sixth graders tearing apart toy engines to understand force and flow. Crackling flames dimmed as midnight neared. A shooting star streaked across the black canvas, and Cody, still awake, called out a wish for next year's camp to last 2 full weeks. Laughter rippled through staff and campers alike, and Melody realized bigger dreams were already sprouting, fertilized by shared sweat, surprise, and sugar-coated courage. She zipped Cody's tent, kissed his forehead, and stepped back to admire dozens of canvas domes gleaming like lantern shells spread across the clearing, each holding a story seed ready to germinate. Crawling into her own tent, Melody whispered gratitude to the humming night, grateful that a once-broken hose and a stranger